get a link into the chat that you can share wherever you want. So that's probably the easiest link to share. And then I'm going to throw that up on Blue Sky to get us started. But hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show, we are going to dig into something exciting. I've been excited about game dev recently. I like the idea of building games. I find it really fascinating. It's a part of programming that always seemed too hard for me. And so being able to demystify that a little bit and get a better idea of what game programming is and how similar or dissimilar it is to the way that I've learned how to build for the web is something that I find really interesting and valuable. So I want to dig into that a little bit more. And today we're going to continue down that path a little bit by learning about a programming language called Lua. Now, Lua has been used in a lot of popular games. It is not just for games, but that seems to be a place where it shines. And so to teach us about that, we are bringing on a JavaScript developer who's been learning Lua, which... who just took over my screen there for a second and threw me off. But please join me in welcoming to the stage, Potch.
Hello. Potch? Sorry about the errant click there as I got things focused.
All good.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing so good. I'm so happy to have you on the show. So we're going to be talking about Lua and game dev, but before we talk about any of that, I want to talk about you. So for folks who aren't familiar with you and your work, can you give us a bit of a background?
Yeah, gosh, I've been doing front-end web development professionally for nigh on 20 years, kind of writing JavaScript for about as long, was at Mozilla for a bunch of time as a web platform advocate, did developer advocacy for Glitch for a few years, then spent some time working at Splice, which is a music technology company who just did some cool stuff, and just started to break out on my own to pursue some independent game dev. And I'm based out in Mountain View, California.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So talk to me a little bit about like your programming journey, because I assume you told me as part of this that this is going to be Lua for JavaScript dev. So I'm going to make the assumption that you started as a JavaScript dev. Is that an accurate assumption?
With only the slightest earliest detour into QBasic in the 90s, because that's I had access to a crappy laptop with 16 shades of orange and DOS, and I had 2 games and QBasic, and so I was like, I guess I better learn to goof around on my own, and so I've been making terrible games for a very, very long time, mostly for my own and my sister's, but yeah.
You know, I love that. Like, I think there's something magical about making a game that's just for you. Like, you're not worried about mass appeal or whether or not you can explain the rules to somebody you've never met. You just sort of get to do something that's uniquely yours, and that's playful for you and the people you care about.
All vibes.
So let's talk about, I guess. So you kind of made the jump into web early on. You were talking about working at like Glitch, which is a very kind of playful platform. You worked at Splice, which is a music platform. How did you end up in game dev now? Like, where did that turn happen for you?
Yeah, so in 2020, unfortunately, I think it was a pandemic layoff, but I was laid off from Glitch along with some other folks, which no hard feelings. But at that time, I sat down with myself and said, okay, I've been doing developer advocacy for a bunch of years. What would you like to do next? And I'm like, well, I've always wanted to make games, right? And at the time, I was so burned out. I was so cooked, and it was 2020. Other things were going on. And so it just didn't feel like the right time. And also, I just was like, it's a thing I'd like to do, but I didn't have a plan. And so I was like, let me go get a job. I joined Splice. And while I was at Splice, I sort of started laying some groundwork and doing some experimentation. And the big thing that came along that kind of is the probably inspiration for the talk we're at today was the Playdate. If you have the Play, I sent you that link, but if you go to the play.date website, you can pull that up too. But it's for folks who don't know, it's a independently made handheld indie game console made by Panic, who are Mac software folks, and also have recently gotten to game publishing. They did Firewatch and a couple other games, but they made this really cute little handheld Game Boy thing with a crank on the side. And they were like, sure, we're going to publish a bunch of games, but it's going to be an open development platform. You can just grab our SDKs and go. And their SDKs, because it is a very constrained little piece of hardware, or C. They have a really cool web-based tool called Pulp, which is if you want to make really simple, like an RPG maker, simple tile-based games. And sort of the middle path was Lua. And I was like, well, all right, I think I really want to try making a game for this. Let's see what Lua is all about. And that sort of led me to dip my toe into, I've written plenty of other programming languages other than JavaScript, but JavaScript has always been my primary. And if I can write something in JS, I'm going to write it in JS. And that includes, that includes messing with Electron and Towery, which is an alternate, desktop thing. Playing with, progressive web apps and all these things, trying to get to as many platforms as possible. But this was the dead end where I was like, okay, let's try picking Lua up. And I had heard of Lua.
Let's do this for real. Let's see.
Yeah, and I'd heard of Lua because it was like, it's the canonical, like, there's some game that supports mods. The mods are written in Lua, right? It's always been this sort of sidecar language to all these other platforms and popular games.
And it's in a lot of stuff, right? Like, what are some of the things that are powered by Lua that we might not, or that we may have heard of?
I even pulled up a little list here because I was like, because some of the stuff that just you're like, it was scripted by, I don't know if you ever knew people who were playing with Gary's mod, which was sort of a Half-Life 2 sandbox kind of play and thing. It's in everything. You can script it with, you can control Apache web servers. Its whole pitch is like, you've written a world or you've built an application and you want users to, within sort of a sandbox, be able to customize that world or write their own plugins, extensions. It's like the canonical scripting language. Tons and tons of game engines use it for some aspect of, either extension by users or even customization within the game, which is really, really fun. I'm trying to think of other big things. I would say that one of the current hot things is Balatro, I think it's technically pronounced. It was written in Lua. In fact, using the AI game framework, which we may talk about a little bit later.
Very cool. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of that game. I don't think I'm very good at it. But yeah. And Sonic Astro in the chat is saying that World of Warcraft has a lot of Lua. That is a fact. But yeah, lots and lots of good applications for it. Lots of things out there that we've probably used. But so as a JavaScript developer coming over to Lua, how did you find the onboarding experience? Like, what felt familiar and what felt different?
Yeah. One of the neat things about Lua is, despite its design, I think the whole compiled runtime fit is like 275 kilobytes or something like that. It's unbelievably small, but yet it managed to express a fairly high level language. And so from someone who comes from sort of the JS world, things like not having to worry about, like, it's an embedded language. It's not strongly typed. I'm sure people have feelings about what the goodness and badness of that fact, but it has sort of the same scoping concept, right? Where the things are lexically scoped. Everything has kind of it's a lot of syntactic translation, but not expressive translation. You can do most things you want to do in JS, or you could do in JS over in Lua. And I found that it was mostly kind of it's like, okay, which syntax am I writing today? More so than like, I need to change my whole headspace.
Got it. Okay. That totally makes sense. Well, that's always good to hear. And one of the things I've noticed about a lot of my programming language experience is that when I move to a new programming language, because of the experience that I've had in JavaScript and the PHP that I did before that, it feels less like I'm stepping into an unknown world and more like I'm moving into a space where like everything feels familiar. There's just different preferences. It's like going into somebody else's house. Like you don't know where stuff is in the kitchen, but you kind of know that it should be there, right? And so you feel a little bit less lost when you walk into a new programming language after learning a first one. But it is always interesting to find out which ones feel really familiar, like which programming languages have the same taste as the people who wrote JavaScript and kind of define this versus the ones where people think very differently. Like when you walk into something like Lisp, it doesn't feel very much like writing JavaScript at all, right?
For sure. What's interesting about Lua is it is this, like I said, just expresses a high level language, even in these environments where maybe are running up, you're fighting against memory, but you're not allocating memory like C, you're able to be fairly expressive in a fairly constrained runtime environment and not have to worry about it as much. And sure, you may have to do a lot of testing to make sure you're not writing things that are super slow or whatever. But that's nothing that I think we're not familiar with, especially if you're building for people's slow mobile phones and things like that.
Yeah, well, and I can see why, if the runtime compiles down to 275 kilobytes, why Lua would be a target for game devs, because if you want to throw Balatro on an Android, like a low powered Android device, you're not doing that with React Native. Like you'll bog it down with all of it's very large, right? And so being able to kind of comfortably say, I know the thing I'm about to build is going to be objectively small. Like it's not going to take up a lot of space, and that at least means like you can make anything slow, but it's starting you off at a good spot where you have a good chance of kind of being fast by default.
Yeah.
Which is
I personally can make anything. Definitely can make anything.
I have an uncanny ability. I can make everything slow. But okay, so I feel like I have a lot of questions that are starting to feel like syntax questions, which probably means it's time to look at the screen. So let's switch over. Let me get my screen shared with the chat here. This is the one. Okay, and so first and foremost, let me just give a quick shout out to a brand new sponsor. And this one means a lot to me because I have both been the person hiring and the person making applications. And so I know how much hiring, just the whole hiring loop right now sucks in general. It's really, really difficult to get a job right now. It's really, really difficult to hire right now. You're getting hundreds, if not thousands of applications. So being able to skim through those and give anybody an objective assessment is borderline impossible if you have any other tasks on your plate. And so I have been really impressed with the team at G2I. I've heard from a lot of recruiters, and most of the times when you hear from a recruiter, the experience that you get is very like, hello, insert name here. We think we have an interesting opportunity for you at insert company here, right? Like it doesn't feel very personal or anything. And what I like about G2I is that these are people I've met. They show up in the community events. They're aware of who's making moves in the community. They understand the space, and they have a huge list of already vetted engineers that they're ready to pair with companies that are hiring right now. So if you are a company, if you are trying to hire, the process of working with G2I is really, really pleasant, and they're kind of doing the work of screening people, taking them through technical assessments. They're doing the resume screenings and stuff. So if you are interested, you should definitely go check them out. It's G2I. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. This link is very long, so please copy paste it out of the chat, because obviously they want to know that I sent you. If you talk to them, let them know that I sent you, and go out and get some great engineers without spending your entire life skimming through a pile of resumes. On balance, it's going to save you a whole lot of money to work with a good recruiter than it will to spend all that time and resources of trying to manage the stuff yourself. So thank you, G2I, for picking up sponsorship on the show. It really means a lot to me, and it makes it possible for us to have our live captioning. Our live captioning is being done by Vanessa here from White Coat Captioning. Thank you so much for being here, Vanessa. You can find those captions. Let me click the button. Scrolling along the bottom, lwj.dev/captions. That's got the live feed coming up for everything we're talking about today. So thank you again for being part of this, making the show a little more accessible to everybody. So Now, with that being said, let's talk about Potch. So you can find Potch on potch.me, has a link to all of the good places. And I also think you should go and click on all those social profiles and follow wherever following is a possibility. We're talking about Lua today, and so I'm on the About page of Lua here. This is the most programmery of programmery websites. It's kind of amazing. But looking over here, it looks like it's been used in Adobe Lightroom. It's been used in Angry Birds, in World of Warcraft. It is all over the place in the world of, like, I've used a lot of apps that I'm finding out are powered by Lua.
Absolutely.
So that takes me through my spiel and into the question I love to ask, which is, Potch, I have no idea what's going on. What should I do first?
Absolutely. First, let's get Lua on your computer. There's a pretty solid chance it is not there by default.
It is certainly not here. Let's grabbing a terminal.
Yeah, we're going to pop up a terminal, and the good news is it's going to be pretty speedy. You're going to brew install Lua.
Brew install Lua?
Yep.
Let's do it. Let me make this a little bigger. Auto updating homebrew. Let's see how much that's going to cost me.
I know. The part that's actually installing Lua should be fast.
Oh, that was super fast, actually. 11 seconds to auto update. I must have run a brew command recently because that was a very fast auto update. Okay, so I now have Lua. So just like a which Lua, there it is. And then is it like Lua-V to get a version or something?
I believe so. Might be dash. No, you nailed it. Lua 5.4. Yeah.
All right, so we're running Lua 5.4.7. Which is, I assume, the latest as of today. And I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I would say if we want to mess around in the REPL, we can, or if you want to pop open a editor and just make a file, that way we can sort of run it periodically and see.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to make a directory. We're going to call this Lua for JS devs, and we'll get into that. I'm going to get in it because we're going to end up sharing all this, and then let me open this up. All right, I'm sitting in an empty folder.
Love it. Let's make a main.lua.
Right, main.lua. This is probably going to ask me, or probably going to encourage me to install.
Looks like you may even have an extension, or at least it recognizes that you're in a Lua syntax mode already.
Lua,
but you may want the language.
Did it
server.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it says I'm in. Okay, all right. Let's see what it does without it, and then maybe we'll install the language server after.
Let's get the most important business out of the way. Let's print "Hello World."
And is it a parenthetical or is it a?
It is optional, though. I've found the different flavors of Lua have different strictures, so let's use the parenthetical.
Okay.
And quotes are strings are quoted. Yeah.
And is it double, single? Does it matter?
Both work.
Okay. And is it a semicolon terminated language?
It is a semicolon optional language.
It's just like JavaScript.
I'm telling you,
we're off to Good. Okay, so to run this, then do I just like Lua main?
You nailed it.
Oh,
Lua main. Lua maybe, perhaps. Yeah.
Look at us go! I am officially a Lua programmer.
Done. You did it.
I love it.
So obviously, you can see in terms of calls, like function calls and strings and basics, it's going to feel very good. It's very, you'd be hard to tell from Java or, even Python or any other language like that. It's very, very, straightforward. Yes, as you started typing that dash, double dash is the comment syntax, which is different.
Oh,
so that double dash and then text is going to be, how you make comments. If you see that,
comment.
Bingo. The other important thing is Lua is a sort of first class language, which means kind of everything is an object where everything can be saved as a variable, including functions. So much like JS, you can store reference to a function. So variables by default are global. This is like the biggest difference, which in a lot of embedded contexts is usually on purpose because like, hey, let's declare all our variables up top. Let's allocate all our memory, and then we don't have to worry about it. But for what we're doing today, and I would say generally speaking, it is maybe the biggest sort of, foot gun or like snare, but is making sure that you declare your variables and that you don't have typos, because typos will just become magical global variables. And that's definitely been something I've been wrestling with. But you declare variables with the word local. And so, but because global is default, local is the how you, instead of var or let or whatever.
Got it. Okay.
So we could, if you want to say local, name or whatever the heck we're gonna.
Okay, so we'll do one of these.
Yep, and then we can write function, and you're gonna be astonished by how you declare functions. Boom, you got it. And then
why don't we do one of these?
Boom.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we probably don't.
It does not have curly braces. That
no is curly braces.
That is where we're going to depart. And so you're going, but so you can just immediately continue onward with the body of the function.
Got it. Okay. And so in this case, does it still return?
It's still return.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then how do you do string interpolation? Like if I want to do hello,
it's going to, they use a kind of almost something closer to the string concat operator, which is double dot, which is kind of I think of it as sort of PHP-ish in that way. But
that?
Yeah, just like that.
Real? I've never seen that.
And then you end function definitions with the word end. And in fact, you end most control structures with the word end.
Okay. And so then if I want to say hello like that,
yep,
that should theoretically, hey, look at us go. Okay. So far this feels, this is the first thing that throws me. Everything else I feel is familiar, it makes sense.
The concatenation operation is a little different. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But I'm with it. I understand what's going on. I feel good. We're writing. We haven't had any errors yet, which feels maybe foreboding. Like we're saving them up for later.
Don't you worry. You know how in JavaScript everything is an object?
Yes.
Lua has a similar concept where more or less everything is a construct called a table.
Okay.
The table is the outside of like Boolean, string, number, function. Table is everything else. It is the data structure.
Okay.
So tables are both a worth function as arrays that are indexed numerically, as well as objects that are sort of hashed. And much like JS, they are curly brace based. Even if you're using even if you're using them as arrays. And so if we wanted to make a list of numbers, you would
a list of numbers. Okay.
Let's person.
Let's do it. Let's build up slow.
Let's start.
If we want to do a list of numbers, like I can just do something like this.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now I've got a list of stuff. Maybe we want to iterate over that or something. That may be the way to go.
Well, yeah, let's do it.
And so for loops are a little different as well, where by default iteration is done, or iteration, or the way you introspect a table uses there's certain functions that sort of unpack things for you. And so for this case, we would say if we only want the value, let's try. I'm just curious if you say for number or for n in numbers or whatever like that. And then do continues our thing. And so within here, we'll be within our loop body.
Okay.
We may find ourselves in an error case here because there's a little subtlety here that I'm flying by wire, but I'm curious how this will work.
Okay, so let's find out. We'll just run it.
And if that doesn't work,
says attempt to call a table value
for iterator. Okay. So I believe we can say pairs around the word number, and that's going to unwrap the table into pairs, which are key value pairs.
Like so.
Exactly like that. And so what that's going to do is create a key value, almost tuples. And so what we can actually say is for index. Oh, and that did log.
We're getting the index.
Well, we're getting the indexes, correct. And also Lua is one indexed, which
I noticed. This was intentional to show the difference between the index and the number, because I saw somebody giving me hints in the chat.
So what we can do is we can say for, index comma n with no wrapper, which is also kind of interesting. There's sort of some implicit destructuring going on in the language that is kind of nice.
There we go. Okay.
Now we get our stuff back.
So, and if we wanted to show both, do something like so, and then we get our one index, first value, index value. Okay, great.
Boom. Nailed it. Now we're looping. We've got, and you can also talk about the other type of table, which I think you went to start to go make a person. And let's do that real quick.
Okay, we got ourselves.
So now we're going to do a key value syntax. They don't use colon for the key value separator. They continue to use equal in Lua. Okay, but so otherwise you're going to find it pretty familiar.
And comma separated for values?
Comma separated.
Okay. It's probably fine. And okay. So then if we want to do something with that, I would say, is it this?
Both accessor methods, both square brackets base for programmatic accessing and dot syntax is sugar, both work.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very this is the way I'm like, oh yeah, there are definitely differences, but a lot of your instincts are going to serve you well.
Okay, so this is good. So like as somebody who knows JavaScript, I'm sort of intuiting my way through a lot of these things.
100%.
That's helpful.
One of the ways where it is like JS, maybe in a more challenging way, is that Lua is a prototype-based language, which means that sort of by default, there are no classes. Now, we live in the beautiful era of 2025 where class sort of sugar has been added to the language of JavaScript. But fundamentally under the hood, it is sugar over the prototype method. Lua by default does not ship with any sort of class structure. But they have this whole concept of meta tables. And meta tables are tables that act as sort of the parent or superstructure of a table. And that's how you can do inheritance, which is, it's very, if you've ever remember the battle days of kind of making prototype based classes in JS, it may have been a minute.
I do remember. I feel like some suppressed memories just awakened. Is everybody watching my eye twitch?
So let's make a person class very quickly. So let's make a capital P person, right? We'll say it'll be local person. Yep. And that is, you've done it. And so that is the top level thing. If we would like to give that some default values, we totally can do that. But it's going to be one of these things where it is both deceptively simple and there's going to be a couple other things we're going to have to do to get it fully wired up.
Okay, so we could, I guess the things that would be interesting here are like as we get into more progressive stuff, like you would say like you track somebody's age, and they're going to have a birthday every year, so you want to be able to like increase their age. So like maybe you have something like, do we want to get into that kind of thing? Like
we will get to that momentarily, where methods are actually going to be defined outside. This is where things get a little strange. We're just going to create sort of a default object to start.
Okay. So why don't we? So our default object is just going to be alive.
Love it. Perfect. Okay. And now we're going to we know how we in JS there's a concept of prototypes, where you can sort of climb the tree to find the properties of the parent, right? If something isn't on the default, it may be on the parent. Lua has a couple different ways, or has some constructs for that. One of them, which is a special property called double under index. And so for person, we're going to say person, or no, sorry, not for as in the word, but we're going to say persons dot double under index equals person.
Like
this is
that,
just like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now we're getting off into a little bit of a sort of specialty syntax.
Is this correct? What I just did?
What you just did looks completely correct.
Okay. So we made that self-referencing for reasons I don't quite understand.
It means that when we take a person object later and we want to check status, it will look to see if that is what this is actually doing underneath the hood. This is sugar for the meta table that when you try to get a key off of a thing, will try to climb the parent object. It's like there's a lot of magic that we just yada yada over, which is. Yeah, it's source. Trust me, bro. Is really where we're at right now.
Good. I'm ready.
So let's make sort of the constructor, which is going to be we would say a function. It's going to be a function, and we'll say function. This is another interesting syntax. You can extend things with the function statement. So we'll say function person.new or constructor or whatever you'd like, whatever you like to call it. New I've seen a lot in Lua land. This is a function, so we can take any. This will be any, so we'll declare this just like we declared any other function. It's just its name is person.new. Right. So we can give, precisely.
Something like that. And then was it colons or was it just next line?
It's just the next line.
Okay.
So while we're inside, with this things again, get a little strange. We're going to create an object that has the fields that we want it to. There aren't really pure constructors in the way that maybe you would expect there would be, but we're doing, you've nailed it. Except for age should probably be equal to age before. And then we're going to, and because this isn't a true constructor, which is a function, we're going to return the new person. So we call this, we have to return. And the other thing we want to do is we're going to set its meta table in that little nice blank line you left. So we're going to say set meta table, which is a sort of a global method. All lowercase, confusingly, and that's we're going to set new person, and we're going to say rect is its meta table.
Like that?
Exactly like that. Rect. Not rect. I'm sorry, person. I'm looking at an example. I have example code off to the side here, so I'm
good.
Okay, just like that. So
magic,
we're creating an object. We're saying, hey, its meta table is this thing called person. Is this prototype that we've created called person. So now we can create new people, and they will have the fields that we set as well as the fields that are on the prototype.
Okay, so if we want to do one for me,
It'll be person.new because this is just a standard method. There's no new syntax here. Yeah.
Just realized I'm outing myself here.
And hey, 39 Club. You can also, we can do numbers if you'd like. So it will be.
Oh, we can just go straight up numbers.
Yeah, it's just sort of another way with like JS where you can just numbers are numbers. It just.
Got it. Okay. And so then we can do something like print. Something like that. And then theoretically speaking, I've done it all right. And I did it.
Oh. Crushing it. And so let's add a method to our thing.
Let's do it.
So let's above our, before our declarations. We'll do. We're below our constructor. This is the one other maybe sort of squirrely thing that you just have to kind of get used to, and you'll trip over it a bunch of times. Now we're going to say person : and the name of the method.
Sure. Why not?
And this is a method that we want to set, right? And the reason we say : again, this is syntactic sugar. What that's doing underneath the hood is that is going to give us an object called self, and self is the this of Lua.
Got it. So this would be self.age plus equals 1.
And you'll call it with the : as well. And this is the thing that always trips me up, is I'm remembering to call instances with instance methods with colons.
Okay, so and then we would do Jason have birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can copy this and run it again. Oh, I screwed something up.
Syntax plus equals may not be, and plus equals may not be valid. I think plus plus does work though.
So we just plus plus it. Okay.
Okay.
Try again.
Maybe I'm lying to you doubly.
Let's see.
It may have to be equal plus equals plus plus one.
Oh, equals.
It may have to just be the fully expanded thing.
Oh no shortcuts in Lua. There we go. Okay, so that's doing the thing, and then if we just to make sure it is in fact doing exactly what we would expect.
Right. I should not have aged.
Yeah. So same. My object ages, yours does not. And we get the expected output. Objects are contained. That's cool. That's very cool. So I'm with it. We're doing the thing. Look at us go.
Right. Pretty much you've just learned more of what I would describe as the bones of Lua. The only other things that we may want to look at are table manipulation. Again, because by default, the sort of default shipping API does not have any really classes in it. They have sort of global methods for table manipulation. So there's a global thing called table. And so you would say table.insert and pass the table and the thing you'd like to insert to append to the array. Or table dot. But so you actually invoke this sort of global table helper.
So I would do like table insert, and then I would do JSON, and then
so this will push a value onto like a list. If you like to add a property, you can just use the dot syntax.
Oh, I got it. Okay, so if we have something that's like local, we'll say people.
Yeah, we can start with us.
Start as us. And then down here we want a table, or no, we'll create a new person, and we'll say Marissa, and that is what is that? Person.new. Marissa, and
let's say ageless.
And then we can say table insert, and it would be people Marissa. And then down here, if we do for index person in people, we would print person.name. And theoretically, now that we've done this, we're going to get 3 names. It doesn't, because I did something wrong.
Not a colon. It'll just be the word do.
Oh, right. I did. Yeah. Sorry. That's me.
You went Pythonic with it. Totally fine.
Oh, what did I do?
Now what do we do?
Attempt to call a table value for iterator.
Oh, this is that you have the pairs around people. This is that.
Right.
Goofy thing that.
Okay, so now we've made a list of people. We've added a person. What if we wanted to drop off? Like, what if we want to remove me from this table?
There's a table.remove that takes an index.
And that would be 1 in this case, right? Right? Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
So now the list should only... Oh, no, I screwed it up. I didn't save, is why.
Okay. So
there it goes. Okay.
Hey.
So we're doing the thing. We got it going.
I would say that your Lua 101 badge is earned. And since you have talked about wanting to do game stuff, I think this is a point where maybe we pull down a GitHub project that I've made, and we spend a little time. And while we're doing that, the first thing I want to talk about is sort of the there's the Playdate SDK, which is the first thing I built a game for. But when it came to wanting to build games that could run on like desktop or things that are not a wonderful, quirky little handheld console, I was looking at this game toolkit called Love 2D or Love, which is a Lua powered game framework, which is really, really lovely. And yes, this is a Brazilian language, which I think is very, very cool. I saw some comments in the chat about that. And so if we go, to the README, I believe we have a little set of instructions for you. Here we go.
Okay, so
we're going to install Love 2D, which is a thing we do not have yet.
All right, so I'm going to head over to Love 2D. Here it is.
And you're just going to grab that Mac OS.
Go. Let's love this. That one.
That's the one.
Okay, so we're getting Love 2D.
Feel free to put this anywhere on your system. I've put it in my applications directory. If you don't want to do that, it's okay. We will need the path to it.
The hell did I just do? I want to move.
Oh, you dragged it into Adobe, which is one of those magic apps.
Oh no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to drag it into applications. Yeah. There it goes. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So good news is, I believe if you put it there, we should just know where it is. Double check that I didn't hard code my own username into the path. If you go to package.json, let's see. I did not look at me. Wonderful. So the other thing we need to do is do an npm install just to grab. I have this little. You don't have to, but I using an onchange. This thing called onchange just auto restarts things when we change files. Okay, great. So we can npm start. Boom! Here's our little world that I built for us.
Wow.
I remember there was a recent or a past thing I watched where you were talking about specifically your fear of collision detection. And so I've done the service of writing a little rectangle class with collision detection implemented. And we can maybe build a small game on top of this.
This is great. So, okay. So what is happening in here? We have...
Yes, let's top into our main file here.
We've got 26 lines of code.
And I'll talk you through this. The first thing you'll notice is that line 1 is requiring a second file. Lua does have sort of modularity in the sense of requires. There are implementations of Lua that do true modules where you can actually do modules with exports. Lua, the base language, does not. And so this is all happening in the global namespace. So I'm requiring a file and it's patching stuff into the global namespace. I've written us a little rectangle class here that just has a constructor that lets us set X, Y, width, and height. You'll recognize that should look pretty familiar to what we wrote for person. Mm-hmm. I have a draw method that is hooking into Lua's drawing commands, and we'll talk a little bit more about Love. Or sorry, not Lua's, Love's stuff. Where Love implements something akin to the Canvas API, where we can actually do something that's a little more visual and fun. But you can see here it's creating a rectangle and using the rectangle information to use the rectangle information from our object to draw. And then I wrote two methods for whether a rectangle contains a single point and whether a rectangle intersects with a second rectangle.
Got it. Okay. Contains, and so what is contains? Like, what is the purpose of that in the
contains is letting me know if any given XY point is greater than the left side and less than the right side, greater than the top side and less than the bottom side.
Oh, and so this is our edge detection.
No, it's actually, so that's telling me whether a single point is inside of a given rectangle, and then intersects is testing each corner of a rectangle to see if it's inside another rectangle. And that tells us if those two rectangles are overlapping. So you can see, when we turn bright green, that is the intersects method returning true.
Got it. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, all right. Absolutely. And so if we go back to our main file, so that was the first thing, was the creation of that rect. I'm loading an image. I'm doing a little bit of there's maybe a little more magic here than is needed to quite understand. But the first thing is the most important. That line 3 is I'm loading an image. And then once I have that image, I can draw it. So maybe we could even go and find ourselves a cool spaceship or something.
And this image like repeats, it tiles.
Correct. And then I'm grabbing the images or I'm grabbing the dimensions of the window. Maybe those variables could be better named. And I'm sort of creating this concept called quad, which is now we're getting into GLE, graphics API things. But I'm saying, hey, there's a larger rectangle that is going to be the size of our screen, and it's going to use it's going to repeat at the image get width, image get height pixel boundary. And so that's how I implement. That's how tiling is set to go here.
Got it. Okay. And so then we create a new rectangle, and that is located at 100 pixels X, 100 pixels Y, and then it's 200 pixels wide, 200 pixels tall. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And then the way that Love implements sort of its request animation frame or its frame cycle is if you write a method called love.draw, it will be called every frame. And so this function is...
Okay, that's slick. Oh, that's nice. So it does the frame detection for you. Like
it's taking care of everything for you.
In the previous stream that we did with Will King, which I guess if we're going to mention that, I should probably bring it up. Let's go to Code TV, and then here's our TypeScript game engine. And so you can go watch that if you want to see how we made that work. But let's get back into the code here. And what we ended up having to do was like write our own loop that was on request animation frame, and then we had to do some math to make sure we were running at 60 frames per second, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the fact that that's just sort of done for you is really nice.
Yeah, and one of the nice things about Lua is there are other ways that Lua is much like JS is that Lua is really all about what the embedded environment brings to the table, right? In Node, JS has all these interesting built-in superpowers around file system access and running HTTP servers. And in the browser, the DOM APIs bring all of this stuff around creating HTML elements and, making network requests, similar things, but it's all about sort of the provided runtime around the language. And so Love is bringing a graphical and game engine set of APIs to the Lua language. And Lua is really, really good at effectively letting people effectively implement an API in C or another language and then embed Lua into it and provide hooks and provide all those things as an API within the language.
Got it. Okay.
And so and so in this case, love.draw is provided by Love2D into the Lua sort of global scope and saying, hey, if you make a method call this, we'll call it once a frame. And you can do what you'd like.
Okay, I understand. So then we get in here, we set our graphics color to white.
That is white, fully opaque white. You intuited correctly. So it's 0 to 1 plus alpha.
And this, we're drawing our image, which is the background, inside of our quad space, and we want it to start at the top left. And then I don't know what this is.
Let's tweak that second parameter, the third parameter, the third 0.
This one.
Just type a number there. Let's see what it does. No harm.
Oh, it like popped open again for me. That's cool.
Yeah. So the on change thing is just going to auto reload. Maybe make it a very small number, like 0.01 or something like that. Let's see. I'm actually curious because I have not done this. So yeah, what it's actually doing is it's slowly rotating our the quad. That's a rotation parameter. And so if you made that, but it's in radians. So you could probably
what are radians? We set it to.
So if you did like
what if we set it to like just 0.1?
Yeah, 0.1 is going to be like kind of a skew. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, that's more notable.
So when we spun it by 2, we just spun it off screen. But you can see that so it's the top left position, the rotation, and then the last 2 things are a scale factor. So we just put 1 as the scale factor.
Got it. So if I made this like 0.5, it's going to skew it weird.
It's going to. I think you put 0.0.
Sure did. I got to stop trying to tab out. Okay, so that like just squishes it to half the width of our space. Okay, all right, I'm with you. I understand.
Yeah, that's a little bit of the quad stuff was a little. I wanted a pretty background, and I was like, it's worth it.
Worth it.
The next couple lines are about getting our mouse position and just creating a rectangle to represent
nice and intuitive.
Our character. And you can see that unpacking syntax right there, where get position actually returns multiple values. You can return just like X, Y, Z, and you don't even have to wrap it up. It's just, you can just return things.
And are those, they're unpacked by named parameters, right? Like it's not ordinal or anything?
Correct. It's it is ordinal by default.
So if I go into a function and I just do like return 1, return 2, return 3, I can destructure those as like let favorite number, least favorite number, other number, and it'll just pick up 1, 2, 3 in that order.
Yeah, so you'd return 1, 2, 3, and you can collect those in the named variables of your choice.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right, so then we take our X position, we go 20 pixels to the left and top of that, and then make it 40 pixels. So our mouse is in the center of our square instead of at the top left corner. We set the color to, what is this, RG green, which I could have also determined by looking at the screen. And, or wait, no, that's not right.
It is. Sorry, this is the rectangle. This is the larger rectangle, not us.
Larger rectangle. Okay. And then if it intersects the dude, we draw the fill. Otherwise, we draw a line. And then the dude is drawn at red. Okay. I understand. Cool. Okay. This all makes sense to me. My ability to understand this code was stronger than I expected.
And I think, part of that is once you know a language, reading other languages are somewhat doable.
It gets a little easier to step between, yeah.
Yeah, but also I feel like Lua really does have enough, like I said, is this low-level language with really high-level syntax that feels pretty good. It leaks a little bit here and there, but
the abstractions in Love are also really nice.
The abstractions in Love are very lovely. Yeah,
I can imagine this would be a little gnarly if we went and looked at how draw is implemented inside of Love.
I very fortunate that is the box that has remained closed to me. But let's see about making a game. Or maybe even something simpler where, let's say if when we intersect, maybe we move the rectangle. That could be just like a really simple, like,
oh yeah, we can like push it around a little bit,
or you push it, or it pops up in a new location. You have to go grab it. Something really, really lightweight to start.
Yeah, let's do it. So intersect.
When we intersect, as opposed to making it, maybe we'll fill it that once, but then afterward, maybe we'll move it.
Move it somewhere else, and then maybe just to make this a little easier to move it around, we can make this smaller. That's not
for sure. And so maybe we just generate two new random positions for it, like a new random XY, and we just move it.
Right. So these would need to be set.
Well, we can update them in our right in line.
So we could do like start or current X, and that's going to be 100, and current Y is going to be 100, and so we can
do it that way, or we can manipulate r.x and r.y. Just
like straight on the R.
The same way you could do it with Pojo.
Of course you could. Yeah, that totally makes sense. So here we would do like an r dot X.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we'll just assign that, and there's like math is all lowercase. Math.random. It's all lowers, and it has a helper. There has a helper for sort of our bounded. So by default, it is 0 to 1, but you could say 0, comma, and we can say maybe width, which is the size of our window, minus 200, or with the size of our rect, so 40, right?
It's 40. We got a little bit of magic numbers going, but that's okay. We can.
And that 40 is just because our rectangle is 40 pixels wide, so we don't want it to hang off the edge. We could actually say, in fact, let's make them not magic. Let's say r width minus r dot width.
Oh, what a brilliant idea!
And then there's much less magic. And with minus r dot height. Boom.
Okay. So now what we should see is that
it'll flash, and then the next pick frame will appear in a new location.
Boop, 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 boop. Look at us go.
Now this is maybe more of a ColecoVision level game than anything, but there's something here, right? We could maybe say maybe we don't want to touch the rectangles or whatever. We have options.
And so now it's becoming less about like, can I do this thing, and more about what should the thing do. So we're
100%.
getting into the part of like game design, which is very different from game programming, right?
We have. I feel like we've got enough basics here to be like, okay, we have some graphics on the screen, we have logic, and we have sort of our frame. Let's add one more. One more little. We're gonna add one more method outside of love.draw.
Okay.
And I'm double checking. It's going to be we can write another method called function. It's going to be the same way we do their thing. And it's going to be function love dot mouse pressed. And that will take arguments, and there will be X and Y. And there's button 1, but we'll just say any button. So X and Y are the only arguments we really need.
Okay.
So now let's take that intersection test and copy it down here. Let's say you have to click on the rectangle to sort of make it move, right? And we'll remove all the drawing stuff because this is sort of a pure interaction function. And then up above we can remove our moving logic. Cool. Okay. So now we have to click on the rectangle.
So I can highlight it, but nothing happens when I click.
If I wrote the code right. All lowercase again, which is very similar.
Okay.
Yeah, magic names. The love 2D. And rectangle. Because I believe dude or R or
our rectangle is.
I think it's actually confusingly, it's actually complaining about dude, which is created inside of.
Okay.
Inside of our love.draw, we should raise that. We should raise that to the outer thing, and we can set its XY using the mouse position the same way that we had.
Attempting to do arithmetic on global X, which means this needs to go. Wait,
those should just be 0, 0, or just be 0, 0, 40, 40 or something like that. On line 9, that's sort of its undefined variable method. X doesn't exist. Okay. This can be anything, and then we'll set the dude's X and Y using the mouse position.
And I need to bring that back down. No.
Yep, exactly right.
X, Y. But where's the X and Y?
So those X and Y come from the mouse position. We just need to set them around the next line. Say dude.x equals and dude.y equals.
Right. Okay. All right. Dude.x equals X. Dude.y equals Y. Okay, I'm with you. All right, so now we have.
Is it working?
Oh wait, why
is it still not working?
Oh, is this the math? It's sorry, this is where we had to do the math to take it -20.
Oh yes.
So we're gonna take it by half, which we could do the math to figure it out.
Totally.
Bam! Look at us go. Okay, so
now we're aimbot.
But then when I click, now we have actual interaction. So this is great. It's like it doesn't do anything yet, but honestly, you could call this an idle clicker game and just count a score, and that would be
if you
like I feel like I've played games like this.
Let's draw some text. Let's draw some text to the screen. You know what?
Okay.
Let's make a number. Let's make a score number somewhere in our top level scope, and let's put a little text on the screen.
Okay, so we'll start with a score of 0.
Mm-hmm.
And then down here, we want to say, can I just do, what's our score? It's going to be our dude is a new rectangle.
Score, so we have, there are direct, much like the Canvas API, there is a direct draw text called print. So it'll be love.graphics.print.
Print, and then this
I believe it is maybe because you don't have a love thing, but it's going to be the text first and then X and Y.
Okay, so score will be score, and then our X, let's maybe make it for easy math, let's just go 10-10 because I don't want to have to do the math to figure out how to calculate it from the right. So we'll do that, and then in here, if intersects, then we can do score equals score plus 100. And there's our score. So it's pretty small. You can see it. And if I...
And it is red because that was the last color we set on our drawing thing.
You're right. So let's fix that. We're going to make that white. So now our score is white. And as we click, it goes up by 100 for each click.
Boom.
Let's go. And then, oh, you know what we could do also, because we've got this else block in here, is we could say if you are bad at clicking and you click the wrong thing, we can take away score.
So a missed shot is
right.
bad.
So I click, and then I click outside and it goes down.
Oh, I like that.
Right. So now it's like an accuracy thing. And you could even add like a timed element where now you only have a little bit to click it before it moves. So if you miss, you lose points. So some fun to be had there. Okay, so it's already kind of turning into a game. Like we've got scoring mechanics. We're definitely feeling our way through this.
I mean, hey, but you're getting close to being a certified game dev here, in my opinion.
Look at me go. So, I mean, this is great. So what do we do next? Like, what's the right, I guess, where would you go next? Like, what would be your next?
Where would I go next? Gosh, I think it would be cool, personally, for us to, let's make a table of these rectangles that we want to click. And let's see if and maybe have them moving around the screen. And let's add a little challenge to this. Let's make a list.
Yeah, because... Well, maybe we could step this, right? So we could do first, let's make a table of the rectangles, and when you click it, it removes them.
Okay.
So you're trying to clear the screen, and then we can have them move to increase the difficulty of clearing the rectangles.
I like that.
And that'll help us. Okay, so that'll help me too, because it makes it a little more bite-sized to put together. So instead of...
in our setup, yeah, we can and actually we're playing a little fast and loose. Love does offer another named function called love.load that sort of lets you do loading in there. Like setup could happen in there.
Okay. But we don't need...
We don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. So the top scope is fine. But we could...
what would be what's the benefit? Like, why would you use that versus doing it in the top scope?
I believe that Love, I think, has eventually some ways of saying the game is loading. We can show a thing when it's ready, right?
So if we were doing something a little more intense, like loading a leaderboard from a third party or something, you'd have a loading state.
Correct. And we can also, one of the ways, we're this is such a low level game engine, right? We could have a function called game, and that function is called, and we can have a function called main menu. Right. And so we could say, hey, which thing are we currently drawing to the screen? Are we drawing the main menu? Are we drawing the game? Mm-hmm. Like we could have effectively states where our request animation frame only has the concept right now, or our frame function is only the game part of our thing. But you could imagine a menu with a start button. And when you hit the start button, then it switches to calling the function that draws the game.
Right. Okay. All right. I'm with you.
But for now, we can just keep going like this. We just may want to create, as opposed to one local R, which is a single rectangle, we can iterate over a count and append a bunch of rectangles to a table.
Okay. So let's do that. So we've got our rectangles. And what I want to do down here is I'm going to say local, we'll say targets, right? Mm-hmm. We can start turning this into a thing. Mm-hmm. That I want to iterate over a list. Now, is this something that you do shorthand, or do I create like a table and then do a for?
Let's create an empty table, and then there is a numeric for loop construct that we can use. Okay. We haven't used yet. And so how many targets do you want?
Let's start with 10.
Okay, so let's say for I, 1, 10, 1. Or I think that's right. And if I'm not, I will correct myself very imminently.
My brain just broke. What happened?
That is a, let me very quickly get that, the numeric for statement. But the numeric for statement is effectively has, okay.
Index, start,
correct,
max, and what's the last one?
The numerical for neighbor. So it's actually for I equals 1, 10, 1. Forgive me.
Okay. So
that
we're starting at
1. We're counting to 10,
and the initial step. And the step is 1 at a time. Okay,
and you can. Okay, and actually the step is optional, but so if it's implicitly 1 if it's missing. And now we could say targets, exactly, and we can create new rectangles, and we can use our random numeric generation to put them at different places on the screen.
Yes, and to do that, that was down here somewhere.
We will, because the rectangles, we don't know their width and height. We may need to define those as variables, like a generic target width, target height method or value.
You know what? We should, but we won't.
No, also fine. Love it. Cool. So now we'll have 10, and then we can iterate over those targets and draw them.
Okay, so we've iterated over our targets, and then down here, instead of this, we need to make this like a 4. Let's see, 4. We're not going to use the index, but we are going to use the target of pairs.
I believe it's 4 in, but yes, which is a little bit another JS. That's just JS. That's a JS versus. Yep, and we need one extra end at the bottom.
Double end, and this time we're gonna switch out our R's for targets. Okay. And let's just see. Okay, so that gets us a lot of the way there, and then in our draw down here, we've got our R. And so this is going to need the same thing. We're going to have to loop over our targets to check. Okay, so I can just copy that.
And for 10 targets, this is plenty efficient. I will say that when you get into very large numbers of things, having to iterate over every single one of them, it eventually starts to get expensive. But we are.
Ooh, you know what though?
Far away from that being a problem.
Okay, we're going to have to change this up though. I can already see a problem. So
because if you're missing, it misses. Yeah,
equals false.
And you're correct.
Or
yeah, no. So it misses true, and we'll set it to false if it's over. If you hit anything, right?
How's this going to work? So what we need is
it's, I think, misses by default true, but if we intersected any one of them, it becomes false.
It becomes okay. You're right.
No, your instinct was dead on. And then we just take out the is. Yeah, we say miss equals false, and then we take out the else.
Okay. Oh, and then down here, we have to say if miss equals false, or no, if miss equals true.
And it's I believe it's a double equals for comparison. Yeah. And it's a then instead of a do, which is confusing.
Well, I mean, that makes sense.
It does make sense, but everything else is due. So you're like, oh, why?
So it would be score minus 100. And then we end. And now, so counting this up, we're saying by default, you have missed the target. As we loop over these targets, if you are intersecting, that means you did not miss. So if you click and all of the targets loop and you didn't hit any of them, that means that you did in fact miss the targets and you lose some points. Otherwise, you gain points and you are winning the game. The other thing we need to do is when we hit, we need to remove this. So this would be
very good point.
Table dot, was it removed?
So now we want that. Now we want that index. In the other loop, we didn't care. Now we're going to use
index. You are correct. So is it table dot remove?
Table dot remove.
Table dot remove, and this is going to be targets and index. Look at me go. Yeah. Okay. So now when we're over here we go. We click. Oh, my remove didn't work. But oh, and my misses are definitely not working either.
Okay, so let's take a take a moment and see what we goofed on here.
If R, because
it's target.
the wrong things.
We still have our old static R declared up top.
That's right. We should probably get rid of that to make sure that we get an error if
we'll get nice errors instead.
Yeah. Let's try that again. Now, bam, look at us go. We are clicking machines, and we have that's it. Perfect score, 1,000 points.
Perfect score, no misses.
But then I can ruin the thing because we don't have an end state when you're done. So I can lose all my points.
Blast yourself into the negative. If you'd like, we could put an end state on here, right? We could.
Which is, so knowing that we're about 20 minutes from the end here, I think I'd rather get movement than an end state. Because the end state, it's pretty intuitive. You check whether the targets are empty. If so, then you would kind of like draw something new on the screen that says you win. Or like, game over, final score. And that part, I get that. That makes sense to me. But movement, so far, we haven't even talked about. So how does one do such a thing?
So I will admit that for now, we are just sort of saying, hey, we've kind of been doing everything every frame. Theoretically, if you were doing movement truly correctly, you'd be using delta time. I remember there's a good chance that when you were doing your game engine,
we did talk about delta time.
We talked about delta time. For now, let's just have these move by some amount every frame. And does that mean they'll move jitter a little bit? Yes. Does it mean that we don't have to spend a bunch of time doing delta time math? It does.
Good. Yeah, and like I imagine delta time math is something that's well documented somewhere in the Love 2D docs.
They have their whole timer. They have a timer thing, but we'll leave that as an exercise for the sophisticated game developer. We're just getting started. So we can, within our existing target loop, move them before or after. I would say moving them before would be more respectful. So the user isn't chasing a phantom that's moving slightly away from them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just do classic. Let's do classic like Microsoft Windows, bouncing DVD logo logic. Let's just do like give them a direction X and give them a direction Y.
Okay. Yeah. Direction X, direction Y. And to do
But by the way, our targets right now are these rectangle objects. Let's make them a complex object briefly. Let's say that they have a we just right when we push, let's just make a table that has a field called rect. So right in our table, line 14, we're going to push a curly brace that has a field called rect. Right. And we'll close that. We may want to put this on a new line, but we'll also give these a dx and a dy maybe, right, for direction.
Okay. So we are going to direction X and
let's make that math.random from -1 to 1, and we'll do that for the direction Y.
And is the step size on that -1, 1? Do we need that step size to be 2 so that it doesn't hit 0?
Well, here's the question: would you prefer it? It's actually up to you. Do you want them to all be moving diagonally? If so, let's do math.random is greater than 0.5.
0,
yeah.
If it hits 0, then it would just be going straight up and down.
So we have options here. We could.
I think let's do that. That makes sense because I didn't even think about that. So
and then we can do dir y, which will be the exact same thing. And now we'll have to update. Let's go in really quick. Update our logic to say, hey, we're saying dot rect. Yeah.
Okay. So everywhere that we do target like this, we're gonna say target dot.
And if we really wanted to, we could make a true class again, right? We could have made it.
And I would say as this grows, we'd probably want to look at that, but
100%. But the fact that we can just kind of make these one-off things is also quite nice.
Target rect, and then here we've got
those will also be target.rect. Yeah.
Okay. Targets. Yeah.
That all looks good.
Let's just double check that I didn't break anything. It is doing exactly what we want it to do. Okay, great. Perfect. So that gets us going. And then we have now we have the direction.
Yep. And so we can just
randomized.
Mm-hmm. And so now we should be able to, in here, just set increment our X and Y by the amount. And if we hit the edge, we'll invert it, which is probably my instinct.
Mm-hmm. Check for edge, change direction if so.
And here, let's give ourselves a little leg up. Let's go to the top real quick. We're gonna create one more thing. We're gonna create a rectangle called screen. That's going to be the 0, 0 width height.
0, 0 width height, and that's our rect.
We can say rect.new. Yep.
0, 0 width height. Okay. So now we have our screen, and so we can check if the X or Y value is less than 0 or greater than screen.width or screen.height.
What we can say is, hey, are we no longer inside of this rectangle, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
or we could say
if it doesn't intersect.
If the new point or if our new position would be outside the rectangle, we'll revert the direction.
Okay, so our movement distance we can say is going to be 5. That feels like it's fast enough that we'll notice it, but not so fast that it's going to be impossible to catch.
Oh, so you're going to put a multiplier on our direction. Perfect.
That was what I was thinking, right? So we could say the target dot rect dot x is going to equals target dot rect dot x plus target dot dir x times
5.
And we'll say 5. So that's kind of our distance there.
Mm-hmm.
And then just to get us started, now this is going to immediately have everything vanish off screen, but we can start here as a way to just see whether or not that is in fact moving things the way we want it to go.
100%.
Gone. Also, that is fast as hell, so let's take off the multiplier.
Oh, 60 frames a second. They might be zipping.
So fast. All right.
We may.
That's a little more. Okay. That's a little more doable, right?
Okay.
Okay. Yes. So 1 pixel at a time, 60 frames per second. That's plenty fast.
And this is why delta time is truly important. But we'll.
So that feels good. I'm happy with this. But we haven't got our edge collection. So then we have our new rect X and Y. So how would you calculate? Like, is there any penalty to me like setting this twice? Should I put it in a temporary and then test it?
What I would probably do is create a new X, new Y variable, test that against our situation, and then set it if it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that seems reasonable because then we're not messing with stuff. We won't get jitter that way.
Yep.
So okay, so if new X.
So we in our screen, we actually have a function. Our screen has a rectangle, has an intersect, has a contains method that will let us test a point.
New. How does that? Is it just pulling off the X and Y off the dude, or
you pass in an X and a Y point? So a new X, new Y. It won't be intersects. It'll be contains.
All right, contains. New X, new Y.
And WebNeek has a comment that says maybe we want to potentially adjust the bounds of the screen, but we'll that may be true. That is a good shout. We'll take a look at that in a sec.
So new X. Oh, right, because we want it to be the width minus the target width.
Yeah,
because right now they're going to bounce out a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll tweak that. Thank you.
So if it contains it, we want it to do that.
We can set it. Mm-hmm.
And so we'll say target rect X equals new X. And
yep.
New Y.
The happy path is simple. The less happy path.
Else,
if we want nice logic. Now we want to say we probably want some ifs because we want to know whether it's going out the left right or going out the top bottom. And so we may need some extra if logic here.
Oh, right. And is there an else if?
We just write another if, nested if. I don't
just
think
an
there's
if inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to say if the new
x
is greater than, yeah. And I believe actually greater or equal to, because the contains check is strictly less than.
Fair. That's
we would then say target.dirx equals negative target.dirx. And that's also, we would also do that for the less than 0 case.
Okay. So we do.
So we could say or new x is less than 0 or less than screen.x.
Does or work like that?
Yep. Or, and the words are or and versus some new symbols.
Less than or equal to 0.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then we'll do the same thing for our y case.
And then we've got our y. It's going to be height. And we'll change all of those to y.
And I'm now more. Let's give it a run. Let's see what happens. There's a good chance they're going to fly off into infinity. So we do need to subtract 40 from the width.
Yeah, we do. But look at us go.
Look at this. This is a game.
All right, this is great.
This is a game, Jason.
We're doing it. Okay, so this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to see. So we have the intersection here, and our screen just needs to be minus 40 because that's the width of our targets. And then that should make our intersections a little better. There they go. Okay.
Now I want this for you, which is I would like you to very quickly, if you're able, find a little graphic for our let's see if we can't find ourselves a little spaceship or something.
8-bit spaceship. How do we find one that's are there any that are like legal to use?
Right.
I don't want to get weird. That's definitely not it.
Let's see if I can find you something real fast. I should have had this in the project for you.
Free pick? Are these royalty frees?
I mean,
I don't know. It says royalty free, but that feels like it's not. Shutterstock, VecDeezy.
Generally speaking,
Pixabay? Pixabay does this. Oh, that's not even close to what we were after. 8-bit spaceship.
I know Google search used to have a usage rights tab, but who knows? And maybe I've sent you down a rabbit hole.
Fly the space shuttle.
Perfect. I think that's great.
Let's fly the space shuttle. I'm going to download.
We may need to shrink that bad boy down a little bit, but I love the idea.
Let's see. That is fine. I can pop open one of these. And what size do you want it to be? Like actual size?
I mean, so if you want this is for us, or is this for our targets?
This is for us, right? We're flying the spaceship.
Yeah. So let's make
40 by 40.
We can make it bigger. That's easy to change. So let's make it a little legibly. So maybe 64 by 64, or
you got it. 64 by 64. We'll bring in our spaceship here. And then we're going to make that 64.
And if it's not exactly, we can always.
This is going to be fine. We're gonna live with it.
And then if we can do if we can have a way to knock out the background, or if by default it's
I believe there is no background on this. Yeah, there's not. So
Okay,
that won't come out in the
perfect.
export.
Great.
And we're gonna call this spaceship. Okay. And then did you want a bad guy?
If you want an asteroid, you want a flying saucer, what are you feeling?
I think I saw. Little 8-bit UFO.
I mean, close enough.
This one looks perfect.
Not terribly 8-bit, but we'll allow it.
Yeah, it's fine. And then here we need another one of these.
Maybe we make these a touch smaller.
And this is going to be target. these will be what, like 32?
Yeah.
Drop that out of here. We'll get our.
I guess technically 40 by 40 is our current thing, but we can do whatever we like.
We're in charge. Okay. All right. So that is also exporting without a background. So now we got that, and we can
just drag those right into the project.
Just okay, right into the root.
Yep.
Okay. There's our spaceship. Good.
And then if you saw how we loaded that initial image, the good news is we're not trying to tile this. All we have to do is load them as straight using that new image command.
Okay, so we've got our spaceship and our UFO.
And now instead of our current drawing, what we can do, we can leave all that alone, but instead of our current drawing, we'll at least, I guess our dude should be 64 by 64, huh?
Probably. Oh, right. We should probably match these up.
I mean, we want to match, we may want to match the aliens as well, but.
Oh man, this is okay. So this is going to get a little goofy because we definitely.
Well, here, no, this is our click target. Let's make ourselves generous click targets. We're going to work around this temporarily.
Okay. So our dude is 64 by 64.
And now where we were drawing the dude.
And that is going to be down here.
The very bottom, I believe. We no longer, we will leave, we want to set the color to white. This is something about drawing. When you draw images, it takes the color into account, which is actually kind of cool. But for the purpose of what we're doing, we'll want to say love.graphics.draw. So instead of dude.draw, we'll just say love. We're no longer drawing our rectangle. We're just going to say love.graphics.draw. And then we're going to say dude.
And then we'll say, dude.
Or no, we'll just set it. We'll just set the variable to. I wasn't paying attention to.
I called the graphic spaceship.
Oh, the spaceship. Forgive me. And then we've been moving that minus some amount. So we'll say spaceship and we'll say dude.x minus or dude.x, dude.y. I think that should be fine because we keep the we're keeping it in account.
Because that is the minus is 30.
I don't think we need the minus.
Oh,
because we're using the rectangle. I think already did the minus. If I'm double checking, I believe we set the minus when we set our position.
Great question.
Yes, the minus 20, minus 20. We should set those to 32. We'd be good.
Oh, here we go. All right, there we go. I was like, I know.
Now we're getting into a lot of magic numbers. Hey,
look at us go. We're a spaceship. Okay, so same thing here. We can do
for the
love.graphic.draw.
And this one we just need the top left because we were tracking the top left. So we'll just need target.rect.x, target.rect.y. And now we have hitboxes and graphics. And we can decide whether to draw the hitbox or not.
Okay. Let's leave the hitbox off, but we can maybe change the fill. I broke it.
Our UFOs are not showing up, is that right?
Yeah.
Let's take a look. Oh, what format was the graphic?
They're all PNGs.
They're all PNGs. That's interesting. Is there a log? If you look at the logs,
yeah, I probably screwed something up here.
No. I'm just curious. There's a chance that sometimes images, not every image, if it's a weird PNG or
what did I do wrong here? So spaceship UFO love.graphics.draw.
Oh, make sure the color's set properly as well.
Yeah. There you go. That was the thing.
That'll get you, and then we can change the color for the fill if we want.
Oh no, that's not it either. Are my UFOs No, they're not showing up. They're not really tiny in there. These are not the best. Is it because I'm trying to draw the fill?
Yeah, let's check that off. And I would be surprised, but
not it.
I wonder if that PNG file is just being. Let's double check. Target.png, and you loaded that into up top. Let's double check that's loaded right.
Target.png, target.png, graphics, called UFO. That's the only place we touch it.
Temporarily, just change it to the other thing and just see if it draws. I just want to see if that does work. Aha! So no, it's something more subtle.
Oh, look, it shows up there. So so we're not intersecting. So basically, what we're doing is
we are drawing over top.
I know what I broke.
Yeah,
I know what I broke.
We're drawing over top of it also.
We are drawing over the top of it. But we
can just swap the order here, and I think we'll see it better. Maybe we can see it. Oh, we need to draw it no matter what. You're right.
We need to draw it no matter what is the problem.
Yeah, there we go.
So there's our UFO. There's our graphics. This is not. I'm gonna put this behind.
Yep, and then we can delete the line probably, or leave it for the moment. But yeah.
Yeah, we picked a really bad graphic.
We did pick a really bad graphic.
As the background, but oh damn, this is really hard. Where's our? You know what? I think we might have made this game impossible because I can't actually click. So something in the detection is wrong, but we got things going. We are out of time, so we're gonna have to kind of call this what it is. But like, I'm really impressed by all this. Like we got so much further than I expected us to get in terms of using Lua, because I thought we were gonna kind of learn some syntax and maybe see like how you could do the stuff that we did in the first few minutes is what I thought we were going to do for the entire show. So being able to get all the way through to where we have a game that if I could figure out hitboxes, because you can see my targeting is weird here. So something in my hitboxes is wrong, but that's a fixable problem. We got a whole game going. We've got scoring, we've got hitboxes, we've got movement, we've got enemies, we've got graphics. Very cool stuff. So Potch, where should people go if they want to learn more? I'm gonna while you're thinking, I'm gonna throw up some links to your personal stuff.
Yeah, they want to learn more. So first of all, this project, as we picked it up, is available on GitHub. I will happily, Jason, if you want to make a pull request to it with the stuff that we've done, I can happily do that. I think people would have a great time starting with our what I'm going to call Jace invaders. Is that right? Is that but I'd love for people to play more with this. Off screen, I've had the Love 2D wiki, which is just linked straight from love2d.org, and the lua.org/manual, which are the fantastic docs for Lua and the docs for Love. And I've just been referring to those off screen and talking you through things, because as much as I've been learning this stuff, textbooks open is always the way to go. Yeah, feel free to create a fork and I'll open a PR and I'll merge it all in. But I would love for people to play around. I
just did the thing. If I repository not found.
Trying to push to me? Oh no, there it goes.
I think that did the thing.
Pull request. Hey, look at that.
Look at us go.
And we're doing open source contribution on the right on stream.
So yeah, here's Love2D. The wiki is linked right up at the top there. We've got the Lua docs. All this is already in the notes. You can go find all this in the Discord, the Code TV Discord, which I'll drop a link to that since I'm talking about it, I guess. There is a show links channel, codetv.link/discord. Let's get that in there. And with that, that is all we had time for today. Thank you again for G2I, brand new sponsor. If you're looking to recruit, go talk to them, please. They're very good at this. Thank you again to Potch for hanging out with us. Thank you to all of you for watching and supporting. Make sure you go check out what's coming up on the show. We've got next week. Next week I'm in London, so there's no show next week. The following week, we're going to have Brad Frost on the show. We're going to be talking about design tokens. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. If you are curious about all that stuff, or even if you're not, honestly, come learn about it, because it's very, very useful, and it'll probably show up in your work in ways that you may not expect. That's all we got time for. That's more than we had time for. We are just cooking. We're cooking today. Potch, any final words before I shut this down?
One of these days, I'm going to be showing up on one of your other programs, and I'm super excited for when that comes out. That's all I'm gonna say. You can keep checking me out at potch.me. I'm going to be posting my game development journey there. At some point, if I ship something, I'm sure I'll be a huge pain in the tuchus and tell everyone about it.
Love it. Love it. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you again to Vanessa for doing the live captioning. Thank you for Potch for hanging out, and we will see you next time.